family. It is a group of people that comes together. And the other piece of that is, as an individual, you don't want to be separated from your tribe. And it's good for this group to come together every so often to talk about these things. So the other piece of it is, in the past, inventors would actually build their own manufacturing facilities to start things up. So Chris, Made in America, that movement is really important. And that's going back to what worked previously and creating those tribes of people, the family of Made in America, to really get inventions out. Because one of the reasons that people don't bring things to the table is because of that fear of being turned down. So I just really want to encourage you to think about that, because when you look at the true definition of what a tribe is, it's a family of people that are going to come together and support you. So today, my encouragement to you is this: share ideas, collaborate as much as possible. But hearing Jeff Seiler say he has a patent pending is really going to be great, because if the family wins, you all win. And that's my encouragement to you today.
Fantastic. Well said, well spoken. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I agree on all points. And we are a tribe, we are a community. And soon you'll be witnessing, there's actually a network of inventor clubs across the country that has all the same similar concerns and cares and experiences to be shared. So indeed, there's quite a value to that. It's so important. So thank you very much, Brian. All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I'll do it this way. Announcements. Any folks have, again, Jeff, you've got your own announcement here that you've got that patent pending. Congratulations. That's an important step. Anybody else want to share with us maybe some similar news or other announcements?
Just Adrian, I think you know that there's been some changes at the UIA, which I think are important, right? With Carmine.
Yes. Yes. So please, Chris, I'm delighted to see those changes, and I'm happy to announce that you have in fact joined that board. I have a slide a little bit later coming on to, I think, announce this, but yes, indeed, Chris. Please tell us more, because Warren stepped down. He'll be on a little bit later tonight to talk about that, but there's been some major changes with Carmen coming on board and yourself. So please enlighten us.
Yeah, so Warren's been 12 years on the board. He's done a lot. I mean, he's done an awful lot to help that whole business grow. Especially if you go to the Inventors section at the hardware show, right? That used to be 7 booths, and now it's like it's its own entity. It's its own room. And I think with Carmen taking on, we're going to be doing some different things. We're going to be looking at defining roles for each board member. Me being one of them, I'm going to take on obviously the manufacturing and Made in USA and product launch, and we're going to have a lot of ambassadors now connected to the individual responsibilities. And I think we're going to grow the membership. I mean, there's so much opportunity and so much knowledge that's offered for free, and there's really no other place that anybody should have to go. It's a nonprofit organization, and there's, I'm going to spend a lot of time on sponsorships with Carmine to help fund it and continue to grow the membership base and the knowledge that inventors can get and really have it right, with not just that being the board, but also the communities like yourself, Adrian, and all the individual groups that host these networks that people can join and be part of this tribe, as Brian called this group of individuals to help share knowledge. So there should be nobody afraid to get into this market because they're not sure what to do. There's so many opportunities to connect with the right people that you should have that comfort level. And that's what the board drive will be now, to really make that accessible to everyone.
Awesome. I love the spirit. I love the motivation. If maybe you know it or not, I was on the board for the 2 years, and was hoping we can get more things on the educational fronts moving forwards. I'm happy to see this fresh blood and fresh interest and fresh enthusiasm. Yes, the opportunity to grow this is now's a perfect time. The interest is surging, and UIA has a great opportunity now to unite and share those things. So thank you for joining the platform and coming aboard, Chris. And I wish you the best of luck there. And you can count on us to help in any ways we can here. So congratulations, and there we go. As we were just saying, congratulations, Chris, on coming on the UIA board. Delighted to see you there.
Thank you.
Chris, you don't have any hair in that picture either. Okay.
No, baby, I go clean. It's a smooth look.
And that. Other things going on. Was recently involved with a podcast. Our dear friend Alan Beckley is sponsoring this podcast called Inventors Helping Inventors. And you can tune into this. It was a nice 5-minute introduction to some of my background and thoughts and feelings about working with clubs and what the importance is to having clubs around the country. So again, remember our meetings have shifted to Wednesday, and so all the calendars I know of have been modified. If you find one that hasn't, let me know. We'll get that straightened out. And let's see, other announcements. I mentioned last month that we were talking about having another congregation of inventors on, I think it's March 1st. May is correct there. I should have corrected that. Point is, we were going to hopefully advocate for inventors on the day that SCOTUS is making a major determination to decide if the judges that the PTAB has appointed to rule if your patent is valid or not, and if it's invalid, they will take your property without a jury or trial. Well, the case to decide if those judges were even appointed legally is taking place on March 1st, and it could set a precedent that really reshapes the landscape and the laws that we've been fighting to get changed. So I'll keep you tuned on that. But right now, as long as there's troops guarding all the buildings and things are shut down, that's not quite the friendly environment.
I don't think you're going to get that close to the building anymore.
Yeah, okay. Things have changed. So, but we appreciate your support. It's USI Inventors. I got my USI Inventors shirt on today. I hope you'll see it. Strong patent, strong economy. Okay, next. All right, let's get started. Michelle Duger is with us tonight. And Michelle, I'm so happy to have you join us. You're a local legend. You're really well known and quite the expert and educated here locally. And the Blaze, I think, is a great reflection of you yourself. I'm delighted to have you with us tonight and to share with us as we go into 2021 with things happening virtually and sharing and shows and pitching. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts and insights on marketing in 2021. So, okay. Are you ready?
I think so. I didn't get to hear all of the dialogue that was going on earlier, but I would love to hear a little bit more or to get some verification of what everyone does in terms of the type of products or target markets, because I will try to reference that when I give examples of how marketing can be impactful. So I know Jeffrey, Jordan, I think you're in the area of STEM education.
Yes, ma'am. We provide outdoor activities and science lessons.
Science lessons. Okay. So cool. I'm an educator and I appreciate that greatly, and a mom. So kudos to you for what you're doing. Christopher, I didn't catch what you do. What's your area?
So I do pretty much all my products are made in the USA. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of injection molding, but I launch new products.
Who do you sell to or market to?
Right now, Walmart, Home Depot, Menards, Target.
Okay, and I'm just, do you do marketing towards the final user, or just
a little bit of both? So it all starts in the early stages of design and proof of concept. Then I take it all the way through from tooling, injection molding. I have a master's in Lean Six Sigma, so I've been able to eliminate waste. So truly, what I produce is value add product. We can do packaging and also fulfill from the same building, so one location. So it puts me in a real competitive market amongst other areas and other people that do injection molding. It gives us an upper hand. We can really want to hold a lot of inventory. We can build to order.
Cool. And Jeff, the other Jeff.
The other brother Daryl.
Or I don't know, are you the original? Which will you prefer me refer you to? The other, the original?
I'm like Tigger, Michelle. I'm the only one. So we have an interactive display company. We do interactive display systems. And the thing I was mentioning is our cloud screen platform. I guess you could call it an information sharing platform. If you're familiar with digital signage or digital billboards, imagine being able to wrap a web page around that and then be able to email it to 8 billion people and update it on the fly if you need to. And I was texting back and forth with the other Jeff that I think there's a ton of applications in education.
I was thinking that too.
So we need to chat offline.
And so productified, did I say it?
Productified, yeah.
Productified. And what do you do? What type of products?
Yeah, so actually, I should have put my name here in the, you can put, my name is Sid Legrand, and I am the co-founder and COO of Productified. It's an online platform startup in San Diego, based in San Diego, helping inventors bring their products to the market. And Adrian is one of our advisors.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
And Brian, I enjoyed your inspirational moment there, but I presume that you also have products that you offer?
No, just
words of wisdom?
No, I'm just a straight up trophy husband. That's what I do. No, I actually I spent the past 45 years in manufacturing, but I have my own business. I'm a business strategist and executive coach, and I'm also an executive director with the John Maxwell team. But like Chris, I have a background in Lean Six Sigma. I'm that dark guy that also has a background in industrial engineering and production management, production quality, and also in project management and risk assessment. So my signature series that's getting ready to launch for the online training is called 3P Breakthrough Coaching Strategy System. And that's being built on a Kajabi platform. So there will be within it membership sites and on the leadership side, probably 60 training videos that people can buy into. But it's a community of people where they can come in and learn the 3 Ps: people, processes, and profits.
Process and profit. Okay. Well, hopefully I will tap a little bit of that today, because and ultimately it's about profit. So when we go into the 21st century or year 2021, what is marketing about? So we have to adapt in this era of COVID and pivoting and doing more online. And I think one of the things that has come out of this pandemic is that things that weren't working, you can't get away with anymore. So you all may have experienced that it's about being more efficient and things that you might have taken for granted. I know in the education systems, inefficiencies that we took for granted, we can't afford to anymore. So we have to be smarter and pivot and be more effective. So in some ways, things are becoming more efficient. We're cutting out waste, and also impacting marketing. So what I wanted to talk about is not so much what has changed, but what stays the same, which is being strategic. And so whether you're just starting out, if you have a product that is geared towards consumers, or you've been in business for a long time, and maybe it's a B2B scenario, I wanted to talk about some things that hold true strategically. 6 tips for developing an effective marketing strategy. And when we think about strategy, it brings to mind, I love strategy. That's my thing. And very strategic, even though my background includes being a marketing consultant, having an award-winning graphic design firm, et cetera. Strategy is really what gets me going. So this quote where you can have a vision, but a vision without action is a daydream, but action without strategy can be a nightmare. So with that, where people, they're busy, but they're not really making impact, or they're not doing the right things the right way. When you have strategy, you lay out a game plan. So the game plan, even like football players or football teams, we have Super Bowl. What is their plan? How do they plan to score? So a strategy is we're just laying out the plan, but it's very goal oriented. And so when I think of marketing, it is about creating a plan to facilitate an exchange. And that's the main reason we're in business, is to have an exchange. So if you think about the you, or as the entrepreneur or the business owner, what you're offering is something of value, your invention, your product, your services. Like I said with Brian's case, you're providing value. And in exchange, we get the profits or the revenue that comes in. And so marketing is not just advertising. Some people think of marketing, oh, it's my logo. No, it's so much more. It's really any opportunity we have to try to facilitate that exchange. We can't force people to buy. We can't hold a gun to their head or hold their child ransom saying you got to buy our product. So we have to influence them. So marketing strategy is where I like this little formula here. We're making decisions regarding the marketing mix, and I'll explain what those are, with our target market in mind. So there are 5 Ps that we recognize as being part of the marketing mix. And they each start with the letter P, and they each represent a key decision area where we could potentially influence consumers and get that exchange going. I say consumers, but it could be clients, it could be vendors that you're working with. So how do we get that exchange going? So they're impacted by our product. So we got to make decisions with our product, the price, the place, the promotion. And we do so, as I had shared in the previous slide, with our target market in mind. So if, excuse me, well, okay. So if Jeffrey wanted to target people who homeschool their children, then he's going to have a different strategy. Something might change. If he is marketing to school systems, then the product might change slightly because it's geared towards teachers. If or maybe instead of providing the actual experience, he's providing curriculum, and it could change a little bit that way. So, or the promotion that's going for daycare centers that are looking for something to do to entertain their kids, that the promotion and communication is going to be different if he's trying to reach out to parents individually. So product, price, place, promotion, these are our key decision areas. But when I was coming up through, undergrad, there was 4 Ps, but what I teach are 5 Ps, because positioning, that's that last bullet there, is so important. We don't want it to be an afterthought, but that is how the people think of you. What is the position you have in their minds? So, with the consultant, was it Brian, I believe? There's so many consultants out there, or leadership coaches, but what sets him apart, say, from someone else? Or what sets a Volkswagen apart from, say, a Buick? Or how do we think of, say, Chipotle different from Moe's? It's the branding. So positioning, you might think of as your brand image, and again, it's the perception that people have of you in their minds relative to the competition. So you might be the low cost option, or maybe you're set apart based on um, your efficiency, and you're the one where the go-to guy when it comes to service. So how do people think of you different? We'll talk about that a little bit more, but your positioning, how you want to be thought of, your target audience, who you're going after, they really drive your decisions regarding the marketing mix. So marketing strategy, again, is we're making decisions in those 5 areas with the target market in mind. And again, I'm thinking what I'm approaching or talking about is strategy, and I'm going to get into the nitty gritty to some degree, but these are concepts that are going to apply whether we are just starting out, whether you are selling a service, a product. Strategy is so important, and recognizing all of those 5 Ps can help you get to the point where you're making money. So
Michelle, is it okay to ask questions along the way?
sure, please. And
Okay.
I will.
So you've just jumped in the pool that I'm living in. Okay, because marketing with what I do is really important.
Okay.
And you're right. There's a million coaches out there right now, and everybody's got some kind of certification. But what I'm learning to do through the marketing is trying to understand my niche and developing that niche message. And what that has led me to is 3 segments. So an entry-level offer, a mid-level offer, and a premium offer.
Okay.
So the other piece, and I'm sure you're going to cover this, but what I've learned out of all this is the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
And then I break the 20 down into a 64-36 because I'm going after a premium market. Okay, so that 20%, I want to know what the 36% of that premium market is that's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck. And that's who I'm going to give the most attention to. So first, can you afford me? And if you can't, you're out. And it's really how do you, and for some folks that do products that are on the lower end where people can't afford it, it's about strategy and supply chain and so on and so forth. But I guess the thing that's popping around in my head is really if you're providing a product, it's more logistical, and the strategic piece of it is anticipation of risk.
Yes. Well, just think of it as an offering. So whether it's a service or a product, you're providing value. And so if we have, and that value is, if you think of your offering being a bundle of tangible and intangible benefits.
Right.
So in some case, some things we could touch, some things. So I'm just say over to Jeffrey. He may have what he's offering, and I'm saying hypothetically because I don't know exactly all the details, but a product similar to what he offers can have tangible and intangible. So the tangible part might be that they're kits. We're going to build a rocket, and so there's that. But the intangible can be confidence that the kids have with science. It could be the parents feeling a sense of relief and that they're providing for their child. The teacher having convenience where it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to make these things up. It's saving me time. So there are some things that matter when it's a physical product, like you were saying, logistics, different from, say, if it's a service. But we could look at, if you look at it, what you're offering as being a bundle of tangible and intangibles. In some cases, you lean towards things like logistics, but I think it all can apply.
And it's
But I
got
will
to,
definitely.
no, I'm sorry. I love Chris because Chris solves a problem. And a lot of people go into it trying to get their brand out first, which is absolutely the wrong way to go. And Chris with this potty trainer, I just laugh about this thing, but he laughs all the way to the bank with this. But he's solving a problem for people. And I guess if, as I'm learning how to get people in, there's so much saturation, you have to give away so much free stuff just to get people into the pipeline.
That's one approach.
That's one approach. But there's multiple ways, and I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
And it holds true for a lot of different products.
So he solves a problem, and that's really what we all need to do. And so I'm going to highlight, thank you, Brian, for mentioning it, highlight a couple of things. One about the niche, one about solving a problem, and basically this comes down to values. So thank you. I'm going to highlight everything that you just touched upon and hopefully be relevant to everyone. And I'm going to go back to the slide here.
And Michelle, I'm not trying to steal your thunder. I'm just wondering if I need to hire you because I will get this wrong.
No, well, I'm going to help you get it right. So this is the beginning of a way to think about it. And one of the things is as you mentioned, with solving a problem, we have to be customer oriented. And maybe one of the things you mentioned too about people just throwing their brand out there, like, you have to be customer oriented. It's not just about us, but be customer oriented. Going back to my strategy formula where it's saying you make decisions regarding your promotion and your price, product features, and where you're going to sell it and so forth. But you do so with your customer in mind. We want to have an exchange. People are not going to hire the consultant or buy the product unless they see some value in it. And our job as inventors or developers of these different products is to make that clear to them that, hey, we got the value for you. And if you are focused on the customer, then you come up with ways to make that come across. So he mentioned niche. And if you think of, like, if I have I'm toothpaste, and I want to get in the toothpaste market, or someone has a hair salon they want to open, or and they're like, hey, I'm open for everybody. Lots of times it seems counterintuitive to go small and instead of trying to be all things to all people. But if you get very specific and go small in terms of identifying a very specific niche. Now, that's not to say that you can't service more than one type, but you're going to create a different strategy for the different types. As I mentioned with Jeff, he may have one strategy to get into school districts and market to them, and maybe the product change, or maybe your product doesn't change, but where you communicate about it can change if you want to go for a different segment or niche. But the more specific you can be, and just as Brian mentioned, that there's so much competition out there, but if you can speak to a particular audience where they really like the way you communicate. I think I have a slide I could show of two business coaches, and one, she gets into spirituality and divine guidance to making decisions. And then the other, I think the name of her program is the Hell Yeah program, because she's like in your face, much more aggressive, but they are catering to their own unique niche. So the niche can be identified based on characteristics like their age, gender, occupation, but it also can be people who live a certain lifestyle or have so when you identify that persona, or which is a name for the person who represents that niche, you can get really specific about who they are and what their pains are. So Christopher he creates products, as Brian Maines, that solves a problem. But even if you're a consultant, what are people's problems? Parents these days, what is their problem? What is it that they need? School districts, what is it that they need? What do they respond to? So when you get really focused on that niche, you can speak to them directly, and it makes it easier for you for them to be like, oh, that's the one for me, because you're speaking their language, you're expressing their pain. So,
well, Bill, I know we're not all acquainted yet, but we got to give Christopher actually a shout out and credit for this. In fact, one of his most successful products right now is the Tidymated trainer, a potty trainer for kids. And Chris, I know you went through all of this development and analysis to come out with that award-winning product. So I'm sure this is dear to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of work that went into it, and then the challenge of producing it in the U.S. and being competitive, and even more so, Walmart gave us a 2-week window to actually get it into 400 stores. So I had to do the graphics of the label, had to come up with the label, do the silicone pads, and actually buy the resin, and then have a display case box made all in 2 weeks. Most of that is a 6 to 8 week lead time. We did it. So
kudos to you. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's part of that whole being really lean and having the ability to move quick when you need to. And this is a product that is actually now was featured on Shark Tank. I can't really talk about it, but we were on season 12, and so there's a lot of good stuff that are going to be coming out, even more so when I have an opportunity to discuss it further.
So when you were on Shark Tank, you had to sell the product, explain the benefits of it, how it's going to impact lives.
We did it a little bit like this. So we focused on, there was a unique Shark Tank this year for season 12 because it was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to spend 10 days in our room before we would pitch. Had to take 4 different tests. So just imagine being in a room, in a motel room for 10 days. Literally couldn't even go in the hallway. It was pretty interesting. So we went in with, we had some Walmart sales at the time, and we launched it right before COVID hit. And we went in with a pretty high valuation, knowing that it would be a little bit of a sell. We had some POs that were in the works, and we told the story, how it was developed, the problems that you currently have with potty training and using a traditional device as opposed to a one-piece device that we have that sits on the same bowl. You're training from day one the same way that it would be trained. I mean, it's kind of like a lean version of potty training. There is no waste. It grows with your child, has a back support, has silicone pads, so it won't slide, and you can adjust it based on the size of your child. So it could be a very young child or a child that we've solved problems at 5 years old. So it'll grow with the child, and and we can do things quick. We can build quite a few units a day. We can fulfill from that facility, and we do it at a really competitive price. So we can reach out.
That's excellent, Chris. That's excellent, Chris. That's a spot-on example of what Michelle was talking about as far as identifying your customers' needs and how to target that market and create the product.
Absolutely. And another thing that
think about this from a ROI, right, a return on your investment. For $19.88, you have an opportunity to save a couple $100 a month, because the typical training amount of time for a child with this product is about 2 days. I mean, because the child sees it as a toy. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're looking at licensing now in Marvel and Disney. They really look at it as a toy, and they take their parents to be potty trained. So they're bringing their parents now in. They're excited about it because they think they're going to use a toy. So the return on investment is instant.
I think what Chris's example brings up, one, couple of things. As a manufacturer, when he's communicating to other businesses, he can play part of what his difference is. He's lean and the quick response rate now, and that helps him to stand out with his inkjet. What did we call it?
The Super Potty Trainer?
No, the work that you do where it relates to injection.
I eliminate the waste and bring value. So in our process, it's value add. It's what a customer is going to pay for. So as I always explain, someone walking across the manufacturing floor to get a box to put it in is non-value. It's wasted time, wasted labor. It's not value. So we do everything in streamline. It's all one piece flow. So you truly retain the value of the process and you keep the cost really low.
So what he's communicating is a cost saving for his partners if we're looking at B2B.
Mm-hmm.
And then going beyond features, and that's one of my tips I was going to mention, is that you got to lay out what's in it for people, what's in it for them. So the silicone feature of the potty training product feature is that it has silicone. The benefit, it prevents the child from sliding. So when we focus on the customer, it's like we shift from when we're developing products, and I say that we because in fact, I have a patent that I'm working on myself and doing new products, getting all into the features. But we have to shift when we get into marketing mode where you can translate that to what's in it for them. And what is the benefit? So that's what the part of being customer oriented. And then having that competitive edge or the competitive advantage where it can be that you create more efficiencies, such as what Chris has mentioned, but maybe it's something else, like you add the little higher level of service, or Brian, with your background, where you're not just a leadership coach, but you have this manufacturing background, which someone else may not, but you could speak their language, and that's an advantage. That could be a competitive advantage for you. Keep it moving here. So competitive advantage, knowing what it is and being able to communicate about that. Also, down here, understanding and being able to communicate your value. And so with the example with the potty training, that's communicating what's in it for them. We can't just tell people what we do, but we got to be able to communicate effectively. And does anybody here have a Snuggie?
I know what it is, but yeah.
So when I first saw this, I know a lot of people got them. In fact, they expanded where you can get it even for your dog. And if they had said, hey, this is a house coat you wear backwards, it probably wouldn't have sold as much. But the way they communicated about it is that it keeps you warm and your hands free. You get to use the remote. If you ever looked at their infomercials, they play up the problem and they do a great job of selling something which we already have. Basically, you could just put your house coat on, your robe on backwards, and you have this product. But they focus on the benefits. So to be effective in marketing these days, you really need to focus on the benefits, communicate what's in it for other people. And if someone says, oh, it's too expensive, really, they just don't see the value, because people will pay for what they value. And I want you to remember that that comes across if, again, you talk about the benefits, which may be, again, the intangibles in it for them. So the intangibles, think about, I don't know if you guys know, my students talk about, or I've seen how expensive jeans can be. There are jeans out there that people pay over $500 for. Or why do people go to Starbucks and spend $6, $7 for a cup of coffee when they could go to the gas station and get a coffee if that's all they want? But what they're paying for, say, going to Starbucks, is it makes them feel special, or like they're treating themselves, or it's the experience. Or if you ever had somebody, maybe it was a gardener, or where you can get the product cheaper, but the reason you stick with the product or choose the one you have, maybe it's confidence, it's going to work, or you just they make you feel good, and so forth. Or the convenience. Yeah, you could maybe do something yourself, like fry a turkey yourself, but going to pick it up from somebody is the convenience. So if you can offer convenience, peace of mind, saving money, being sure you can communicate that will help you get do better. And so it's not just about you, but at the same time, it is about you. And that if you are the secret sauce when it comes to marketing, your values, your personality, your style. I think before something was mentioned about the tribe or connecting with your tribe. People want a sense of connection. And I think with COVID and we're separated, we're recognizing that more and more. So times in which people can connect with brands that they feel like they know is can make it better. So I gave the example mentioned previously, Starbucks, and I just want to share how like your style, your values, your personality, the values of your company can make a difference in how you market. Let me give you an example of Starbucks here, and then so Starbucks. Again, you could get coffees quite easily, spend over $7 for one cup of coffee, and then we have Dunkin' Donuts. But let me share how their values and who they are, even though what they're selling is basically a commodity. But if we look at their values or their mission, this is part of Starbucks where they say, our mission to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. Our values, creating a culture of warmth and belonging where everyone is welcome, connecting. So I highlighted some of the key words apart. And so we see that driving what they do. When you go to Starbucks, they have the seats where you can sit down. They're encouraging networking and sitting together. They don't say large, it's venti. They have their own language. They call your name when your order is ready, making those decisions which are in line with their strategy, their values. They promote how they source coffee beans in a way that empowers indigenous cultures. So inspiring, nurturing, creating a culture of warmth, belonging, being present, connecting through the lens of humanity. Those were just some of the words that came from their mission statement. So I encourage you to think about what are your values? What are you, and adding that as part of what you do. Even with this organization or this forum, the fact that you say the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning. I mean, I think that's in this opportunity for connecting. Your values come forth, and it's has something to do with how you operate. So let's shift it to another. Dunkin' Donuts. Now, when you look at their mission statement, they have words like honesty, fairness, responsibility, respect, integrity, and even their, it's not all touchy feely. It's like they promote a strong work ethic. In fact, they're like, no, you cannot sit around here. You need to get going, go to work. America runs on Dunkin'. Even their product, where they have those donut holes, so you could take them to work to share with your coworkers. Their values and what they comes first. So when you think of marketing, and it's like, how are you going to create a brand? Think about your values, what matters to you. This is where you being you and attracting your tribe is important. So I'm just about done. The other thing is SOS. So in this case, usually SOS stands for distress, and in some ways it can lead to distress. With this point I'm making, which is avoid shiny object syndrome, where you jump from one thing to another. It's like, ooh, let's get on Instagram, or ooh, maybe we should try this or try that. There are so many different marketing tactics out there, but my suggestion to you is to really think about what makes sense for your target audience. Again, focusing on your customer, and then trying one particular thing, giving it enough time to get some traction on it, to reiterate, and probably being inventors, you all have this experimental or open to exploration and trying new ideas. But in some cases with marketing tactics, you have to be somewhat experimental. Sorry, you thought it might be same. Yeah. So Jeff was paying attention and he shared what he thought SOS stood for. But no, shiny object syndrome, not same old shit. But we do want to be with the same old thing when it comes to when you start doing a marketing tactic. So say you're doing email, or maybe you're trying search engine optimization. Give things a little track time to focus on one thing at a time rather than trying to be all over. And where you get information, you can reiterate, improve, or you realize, hey, this is not it. But if you're focused on your target audience, like trying to reach them where they are and being good at that tactic. So let's say having sales conversation, getting really good at that before, it doesn't work. So that's one of the things I was saying when it comes to strategy and building out what you want to do. And just go really quickly. And so if you're not into SOS, the alternative is to focus. Focus on one thing for a while, getting really good at it. I say here, follow one course into success. So it may be like you started doing Facebook ads and it didn't take, but why did it not take? Maybe you weren't saying the right thing to the right people, and it could just be a little tweak. So it's a fine line of knowing how long to stick with something before you switch off. But get to the point where and again, you may be familiar with this, where you have enough data so that you can determine, all right, how do we course create? And then just because an opportunity comes to you, like maybe there's an opportunity to be at a particular trade show. But if you know that's not your target audience, not all marketing opportunities are the right marketing opportunities. So learn to say what's no in terms of like, that's not consistent with my branding, or no, that's not my target market. It's not going to be there. And then find things that you could do on a regular basis, having repetition and repetition. And lastly, I want to share that the other goal is to increase consumer confidence. And we can do this if, say, your branding looks professional, or the message that you're giving, say, for those parents of where you mention, it may be that you can mention some of the benefits, and that increases their confidence. Maybe that they see that you won awards that can say if you're going for investors, that can increase their confidence. If they see that other people have used your product, so maybe if you have testimonies, that can. So, Brian, for example, if you were speaking or you were at a particular company and you gain after your presentation feedback that you can use on your website to increase confidence in your abilities, or you can you document the impact maybe before you got in there, how what their problem was and the impact you made afterwards. Maybe they had less turnover, or there was greater satisfaction from the employees and so forth. So increasing customer confidence. If you look for ways to do that, that can help avoid confusion from them. Like if you're inconsistent with your branding, that's going to lead to confusion. If there's too many choices for them to pick from, they don't know what to do, that can lead to confusion. If there's confliction between, you say you're upscale, for example, but your marketing communication looks very amateurish, that's a conflict. We don't want any of those, because when people are confused or they question your legitimacy, they're not going to buy. But if you're consistent, like the way Starbucks has been consistent with their branding, or the way even different brands that we personally may like to patronize, they're consistent. We know what we're going to get. And the corroboration, I have all these C's here, it's just where if there's an opportunity for you to get social proof or testimonies, that adds to that. So all of that leads to consumer confidence, and they're more likely to buy. I think I'm just at my time. So I will share my contact information in the chat, or I suppose we could take a screenshot. But I'm Michelle and Vive Marketing Solutions. If you have a question, if there's want some feedback, I'll be glad to share my insight with you further. And this is how you can reach me. And I appreciate this opportunity to talk really quickly about strategy in general. But again, if you focus on your target audience, how you want to be thought of in their minds, that's going to drive your decisions regarding your product features, your promotion, your pricing, where you make it available. And if you have a different target segment you want to go after, make sure your strategy where any of those 5 Ps can be tweaked. So it's a lot to share. Are there any questions? And we've got, I guess, maybe 2 minutes left, Mike.
Mike.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to, I'll follow, I was like, oh, I'm here, okay. I'll follow up with you, Michelle, later in the week or within the next week, because I would love to sit down and share my vision with you. I think as a single parent, you might even have a vested interest in the solution that I have for housing, but I feel called to reinvent housing for the working moms out there that really are, paying way too much in rent, not gaining any equity, and in many cases are in unsafe or unsanitary circumstances.
Wow, that's a big undertaking, and I can appreciate that. I'm nearly an empty nester. I have a college student. Yeah, she's at Washington University in St. Louis.
Great.
I know, my architect major, but bring, just as I see here, problem solvers, and that's what your inventions are. They're problems. You're solving people's problems, and we just have to be consistent and communicating those benefits of what you offer. What I've talked about is just a broad strategy, but then we could get into it could be hours and hours, where if we talk about email, if we talk about trade shows, if we talk about search engine optimization and branding. But best of luck to you, gentlemen, and thank you for the time to share.
Why, thank you so much, Michelle. Great job. We appreciate you having you here. We do look forward to having you back. There are indeed so many facets of this that are really important, and sharing them and drilling down on those subjects will be very important. So again, thank you again for sharing your thoughts and wisdom. We're going to take a little break now, and Warren, I see you're queued up and ready to go. Welcome aboard, and we look forward to talking to you, Warren, in just a couple minutes. Actually, I'm going to take a break, and we're going to leave the mics open, so speak amongst yourselves, and we'll regroup here at exactly 8:05. We'll get the ball rolling, okay?
Hi, Michelle. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Warren. How's it going? That's a cool background.
Thank you. It's my book, but my new book. But it's better than this 2 feet of snow outside.
Name.
Oh, 2 feet.
Yeah, we got a lot of snow this week.
Where are you located? I saw pictures from Chicago and DC. Where are you?
I live in Connecticut, just outside of New York City. So we got slammed with that storm. But it's nice. So how about you? Are you in South Carolina? Or?
I am. And it was actually a little, I guess, balmy today. Yeah. Relatively speaking. Hot was one of the words. I had a turtleneck on, and I was
All right. Well, I'm sorry I'm just tuning in. So I bet you did great. So
let's see. Inventor Confidential. I had to check.
Yeah, it's on Amazon now. If you want to order for, it's going to ship on March 23rd. So we're just a couple weeks away.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah.
Now you said new book. What's the other title?
Well, no. I should not use that word. It's my only book. And
I like knitting.
my wife and my 3 daughters laugh at me because they're all English majors and very literate. And the fact that I'm the one that has a book really pisses them off. But no, it's all about, innovation and going to market, and then what's going on today in the world, which Adrian's very familiar with, and all the challenges that independent inventors have these days.
Well, speaking with Luke Livingston, who did the Validated movie.
I'm hearing half the words because I think you're eating something good.
I am sorry about that bad Zoom etiquette. Remember Luke Livingston, who did the movie Invalidated, Shredding the Patent System?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I
had a 7-hour interview with him yesterday. He was over at the house, and we were talking about the way we're impacting inventors and what we can do. And it was encouraging to see that there is such an effort now to make people aware of the situation and try to find a way and a cure to work with it to make America great again and keep inventors interested. So it was worth it, but a 7-hour stretch, man.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's there's a lot of interest going on, as you know, Adrian, there's a lot of different people with a lot of interests, self-interest, and a lot of powerful groups out there. I just read an editorial a minute ago in the New York Times about some things that was clearly planted by the tech industry. So, you can tell.
Huge politics, huge moves, huge money, bending the rules, changing the laws. It's a game of king industry leaders. Interesting times, and with a new administration coming in, I'm hoping the small inventor will still survive at the end of it. I'm sure he will.
Well,
where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Well, we just want to let people know what to look out for. That's all, so they understand.
Yeah, right.
I find a lot of inventors don't really understand the playing field, and that's it's important to bring them up to speed, so they're better educated.
Exactly. Once they're educated, make the right decisions. There's moves that can still be made that allow people to realize the dream and prosper and all those things. But it's played differently than it was decades ago. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Help yourself. I'm done.
So, what was the temperature today in South Carolina? Was it
68 in the afternoon?
Was it really?
Yeah, but it's all changing. There's a cold front coming in.
Hey, who's that?
Hey, Warren.
Who's stuck in the room here?
Yeah, there's a cold front coming in.
Don't you have security? Does he have a ticket?
I've just hacked into your computer. Be careful.
Does he have a ticket? Oh, jeez. Well, with COVID, everything is, one, and then on top of this now, I'm finding when you get a snowstorm, and you remember those, Chris.
Yeah.
On top of that, you get locked down on the lockdown, and then it gets completely depressing.
Oh, yeah.
Although I just
got a bunch of snow. You probably got a bunch more too, right? Just recently?
Yeah, we got more during the Super Bowl, and then we got more yesterday. But we're so I got my COVID shot. I'm getting my first COVID shot next week. So
yeah, well, make sure I talk to you before you get it, okay?
Oh, really? Have you gotten one?
No. My dad did though. My dad went and got his.
Right.
All right, guys, we're about to come to play. It's going to be our breakover here, and it is breakover. Are we ready to begin our next round? Let's go to our screen here and go to our agenda and get that back online here. So share. Here we are. Thanks again, Michelle. It was a great presentation. I'm glad we recorded that. So with Dr. Jones's help, we'll be able to get this edited and up on our YouTube channel. And so next, I'm delighted that our next speaker here is a returning guest. And Oh, that was a break shot for those.
There I am, it's a child.
For those of you. Right. All right. So, hey, Warren, great to see you. Great to see you. Long time no hear, right?
Yeah. It's always a pleasure, Adrian. Thanks for having me. So,
we welcome you back. We want to hear all about this. Well, we know you're working with a lot of initiatives with the Patent Office. Anything you'd like to update us on there would be great. And then tell us about your book. So,
sure.
Warren, welcome back, and here you go.
All right. Well, thanks, Adrian. Thanks for everything that you do for the inventor community and what you're bringing to South Carolina. All your expertise from over the years, bringing it to the East Coast. We appreciate that. So, I'll quickly bring people up to speed on some of the things I'm working on. For those I don't know, I wear a couple different hats. Professionally, I run open innovation programs for several companies, including Lifetime Brand, which is the largest housewares company in the U.S. For many years, I did it for TTI, who make Ryobi and rigid power tools, but we've sort of parted ways. And I also help merchant media in the DRTV space. So my areas are sort of hardware, housewares, and DRTV. And what I do there is I bring companies together with independent inventors, and I look at thousands of products a year and advocate for inventors to do licensing agreements. I'm paid entirely by the companies, so I never take a dime. And I wear another hat, which, as Adrian knows, for years I was very involved with and I still am with the United Inventors Association, which Chris Guerrero is on our board now. I was the president for 12 years, and it's a 501c3, real 501c3 nonprofit that adheres to federal laws and rules, and is a group that gives back educationally to the inventor community and advocates for inventors in Washington, D.C. So my whole life is tied up entirely in helping people, which is my pleasure. I have been very fortunate, which I'll go through quickly tonight. But before I start that, to just follow Adrian's lead, I also, because of my role in the UIA over the years, I get asked to serve on a lot of national boards and projects. So I was asked to be on the board of a new organization, relatively new, that was started early last fall, called the NCEAI. That's the National Council for the Empowerment of American Innovation. And it's actually a Department of Commerce initiative, a very serious initiative, which is even higher than the U.S. Patent Office. And the initiative is based upon making sure NCEAI stands for National Council for the Empowerment of American Innovation. And basically what it means is to empower and embrace and be inclusive to folks that haven't traditionally been able to participate for one reason or another in our innovation ecosystem. So that means women, that means minorities, that means military, that means rural folks. Right now, the theory is, quite frankly, we're in America, we're running on about 25% efficiency. And I just read an op-ed in the New York Times that patents have, overwhelmingly been issued to white males over the years, and I understand that, and I get that, and we're all very engaged in a lot of ways, engineering-wise, in that, and I understand what that means. And as we face these issues as a nation, and continue to face them, I should say, because they didn't start yesterday. The idea is let's get more people, let's get more younger people, let's get more people involved, let's get STEM education and training at younger ages. Let's make that accessible for people who typically haven't done that. I think only 12% of all patents are owned by women, and that type of thing. So I have believed in this in my core all along. I also serve on the National Pro Bono Patent Council, which, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have an innovation system in America if everybody doesn't have access to it. So if patents are too expensive to file, then for people who are at or near the poverty line, the National Pro Bono Patent Council is a vehicle, and we have 22 hubs around the country, which help people pay for those patents through pro bono patent effort, and it never existed before a few years ago. So that's another initiative. And I'm also on the US IPA, which is the United States Intellectual Property Association. And again, it's all about making things more aware and more inclusive for more people. So especially at my age now, which I think I just said, I qualified for the vaccine. So that gives you a hint of my age. It's really important to give back to people, all people and younger people in America. And so I'm involved in a number of causes. And I did recently step down as the president of the UIA after 12 years. I know people thought that would never happen, but I did it because we have a tremendous bench now. We have people like Chris Guerrero on our board. We have Judge Susan Braden, who's a federal court judge. We have attorneys, we have designers, and we have all types of cool people, and a very inclusive group. And you can see that group on UIAUSA.org. And Carmine Danisco is going to take over. He's given a lot of time and effort to the volunteer 501c3 issues and challenges that we are. And so I feel very strongly that we have a great base going forward, and quite frankly, there's some dictators of small countries that have served shorter terms than my 12 years. So it's time to, really, it's all time to share with other people, and I feel very strongly about that. So if anybody ever has any questions about that or wants to follow up or wants to get involved with the NCAI, for instance, in the last time I spoke to your group, Adrian, the really tremendous concept of junior colleges and the importance of, I believe there's 16,000 junior colleges around the country that are essential for education and training and retraining of people in America, and hooking them into the engineering and the patent system and so forth. That was an idea that came out of you guys, and I've hammered away at that and got it as part of the initiative now to be a vital part of what we're doing. And every time they have an educational council, I hammer that. So anybody has any ideas and thoughts, I'm here as a conduit to be a spokesperson for the inventor community. That's what I serve on. So, by the way, the NCAI is 26 people on the board, and 13 of them are chairmen of major corporations. So one day when I was speaking, I was exchanging with a woman named Mary Behrens, and I found out later that she was the chairman of the board of General Motors. I had no idea who she was. I just thought she was, well, not that she wasn't articulate and smart and everything else, but I had no idea who she was. And the other people are the chairmans of Qualcomm and 3M and all types of unbelievable companies. So it's a real vote. And if you guys have feedback and my email is www.tuttle@yahoo.com. Please reach out to me. I care a lot about this stuff, and it's a way to give back to the community, which is what it's all about here. So thanks, Adrian, for letting me pitch that. So let me tell you briefly, and I'll try to keep it short about the book, and then I'll open it up to questions, because you've already heard a great presentation from Michelle, and I'm sure you guys are already starting to get past your bandwidth of new stuff probably, but I'll try to make it as quick as possible. This book, Inventor Confidential, is based upon my last 25 years of being integrally involved in the inventor community. I met my first inventor 25 years ago. I never met an inventor before that. I came up through the retail ranks. I worked for a department store in Brooklyn, New York called Abraham & Straus. It was a great department store with great merchants. My joke in New York City was I was the first WASP to ever make buyer at Abraham Straus. If you don't get that joke, that's an inside New York joke. But I was trained by Jewish merchants, and I really went out of my comfort zone and my element at 21 years old out of college to go into Brooklyn and really learn the retail trade from the best of the business, and people who have become lifelong friends of mine, and a passion of mine is my business, and they taught me at Abraham & Straus. I learned all the core essentials for running a business and searching for products and developing products. I learned all about product selection as a buyer. I traveled, a little bit around the world into many trade shows to find products. I learned about product development. I learned about margins and profit margins, and I learned all about how to advertise merchandise and get it out there. I know Michelle talked about marketing, a huge part of getting your product out there, making it successful. And I was a buyer at a very young age. Abraham & Straus was part of Federated Department Stores, which also was Bloomingdale's, and today it's part of Macy's, but we had department stores all around the country. I was the youngest buyer in housewares history at 23 years old, and I was at the electrics department, which is a huge department. I was completely in over my head and overwhelmed, and basically every day working 12 hours a day to survive. But I learned a huge amount technically, and so even though I'm a people person, I love people, I'm pretty classically trained technically, not as an engineer, but as a product evaluator, you know. And so what happened was I went up to Connecticut, where I was from originally, and actually I grew up overseas. Actually, I lived in Europe and Africa growing up, so I had a chance to live around the world. And I kind of came back to the U.S. but I liked Connecticut because it was more out in the country, and I really didn't enjoy the city. And so I started a cookware store there called The Complete Kitchen, and it was a small 1,500 square foot store. So I kind of left my New York environs, started this little store that was it was very tiny, and you know, I was used to, you know, big, you know, Abraham & Straus was the third biggest store in the world, and people were shocked that I did this, but I kind of got back to my grassroots of you know, it was a Williams-Sonoma type store. We had about 6,000 products, and I soon grew it out to 6 locations and all throughout Connecticut and Westchester County, New York. It was a high-end store. I then had a food business called the Good Food Store. My partner, by the way, was Paul Newman. He was very into food, you know, in Newman's Own. We did a lot of catering for him, so he got involved in the business. And we did a lot of catering, and so I had about 65 employees, and I was running this retail business. I was very involved in it. And I launched or brought to market many, many hit products. Like if you guys are familiar with the Nespresso coffee system with the capsules, that was the first store in America to carry that product. I met the representative from Nestle's because he lived in Greenwich, where I had a store, and he came in the store one day to ask me some questions about the marketplace, and we put together a whole program. I sold the first 500 Nespresso machines in America. We did many others, the Muli electric mincer, the Don VA ice cream maker, all types of hit products, the Burton stovetop grill. I mean, things that we went on to sell thousands. And we developed a reputation between my big store background and knowing a lot of the companies in my little stores of being a place to launch products. So back in the day, Adrian, in the 80s, a lot of companies would bring test products to us after a while to get them started to see how they would do. And I loved that. And I was it was an exciting time. And my cooking school, by the way, I don't know, oh, you can't see it because I have my poster here, but I knew Julia Child. She came to our store. We had 800 people. She signed books for 800 people. We had Emerald Lagasse. We had Jacques Pepin. We had one of the best cooking schools. In fact, Food and Wine magazine called us the best gourmet store in America. So we, even in my own little arena, you know, in my own little world, and back in the 80s and 90s, the idea was to try to do the best you could to put your best foot forward and to run a cool business. And I was an entrepreneur. And then one day, an inventor walked in the store named Tom Risch, and he had this little product called Misto. And it's an olive oil sprayer. And it looks a lot the same as it did in 1997. You take off the cap and you fill it halfway with olive oil or your choice of oil. You screw the cap back on, and then it has special nozzle, patented nozzle that can handle the viscosity of oil. And then you pump the cap and it pressurizes it like one of those squirt guns. And then you can spray olive oil. And guess what? The benefit, you don't have to use PAM. And PAM, which they sell about 100 million containers a year in grocery stores, a huge business, is great, you know. But PAM uses propane gas to activate it and fire it, which is not good around a flame. And it uses low-grade vegetable oil, and they usually put preservatives in it, so the oil's not very good. And then on top of that, when you finish it, you throw the container away, and there's enough cans of PAM thrown out every year to circumnavigate the globe. So it was environmentally, you know, tragic. So Tom invented Misto. Tom Risch, this inventor, took him a couple of years. Classic case, Adrian, of, you know, working in the garage and every day. If anybody ever wants to see the video, go on my website, TuttleInnovation.com, and you'll see about 50 videos that I've done and interviews with people. TuttleInnovation.com. Check out the video with Tom Risch. It's pretty much a 45-minute howl of how we got this company started. And Tom came in and the store, and so everybody had told him, because he'd only talked to men who didn't cook, told them, what's the point of this, and they didn't get it. And when he brought it into the store, because he lived in the next town over, he wanted to see me, and I was like running around really busy. I said, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes, because I'm a busy guy. I'm Warren Tuttle. I've got stuff to do, and you're just calling on me cold here. And we went out in the back, and he showed me this product, and I was mesmerized with it. The minute I saw it, I was like, holy crap, this is really cool. And we ended up talking for hours in the back room, and he was an inventor, so he had this whole skill set of things that I never had even heard of before. And he went in, and by the way, before that, he started a company called August West Chimney Sweeps. And I won't tell you the story. You got to watch the video with Tom. But basically, when he was 20 years old, he didn't have a job, and he was like, he had moved out of his home, and friends' family took him in. And it was this kind of a sad story. And a woman next door asked him to clean her yard and her attic, and he was doing odd jobs. And then one day she said, "Could you clean my chimney?" And he figured, I don't know anything about chimneys, but I'm going to figure it out. So he went to the local fire marshal. He learned everything he could about chimneys. He found out that there's like 20,000 chimney fires a year in America. And it suddenly became this mission for him, this greater mission of how I'm going to save lives. And so he invented this vacuum that first came in out of his truck. He hooked it up to the motor and he ran like this tubing right to the fireplace. Instead of going down like a traditional chimney sweep, he sucked all the soot out from down below. And one day the vacuum broke and it sprayed soot all over the woman's curtains and everything. I mean, it's a classic story. You got to hear Tom tell it. Anyway, he went back to the shop. He kept working on it, and he eventually invented a small vacuum that he could portably carry around and clean out chimneys from the inside. And he started cleaning chimneys and making a couple $100 a day, which is great money for him back then since he was completely broke. And he did more and more. And then word got out that he was doing these chimneys. And then there was a magazine, Adrian, I don't know if you remember, called Mother Earth. Do you remember Mother Earth magazine? And they were invited. And somehow the owners of Mother Earth found out that he was like cleaning chimneys, right? So they called him up and they said, we heard you're cleaning chimneys. Can we see what you're up to? And Tom said, sure, come on in. You can spend a day with me. So they came in. They flew in from like Oregon or something. And they got in their jeans and old clothes and went around with Tom all day cleaning chimneys. And they thought this was the greatest thing ever, And so they wrote a huge article about him in Mother Earth magazine. And then they put at the back, if you want to learn how to be a chimney sweep, send Tom $1 and a letter and $1. This is back in the 70s or so. And he'll send you a kit on how to be a chimney sweep, right? So the first 2 days after the article ran, the postmaster called Tom and said, Tom, you better get a truck down here. You got 600 pieces of mail. And he got like $30,000, dollars sent in and letters, and all this from this article, right? And so he decided to put together a kit, and for $1,400, you could buy. Tom would assemble the vacuum and a whole kit of how to be a chimney sweep, how to incorporate, and he started selling these franchises. Anyway, he worked through the day and night and the weekends, and he was making them himself in the garage, and he learned how to make more of them. It was a classic American success story. He ended up starting 14,000 franchises around the world. And by the time he was 27, he retired, a multimillionaire with a house in Nantucket. And he used to go on, he was on the Johnny Carson show, and he was on all these shows. He'd wear a top hat. He literally invigorated the chimney sweep business in America, right? If you look in Yellow Pages and catalog, you still see August West franchises set up around the country. And then he made all these guys money, so they all loved him and everything. And Tom's house back then he paid for like $3 million for it. Today that house is worth probably $20 million and all, which is the sad part of the story, because Tom couldn't stop inventing. And between 27 and 45, he blew every dime he ever made. He had 16 projects that he just couldn't help himself. And he just kept pouring money into them, pouring money. And when I met Tom, when he came in the store, he was literally broke again, you know? And so I teamed up with him, and we went out and we sold over 1.2 million mistos in the first year of business. I got them set up in all these specialty stores. Then we took it into Bloomingdale's, and we went into Macy's. Tom built an 8-foot misto. We carried it right into Macy's. This was before 9/11, right down the escalator, set it up to displays and all the stores and everything. We were kings of the hill. I had the president of Macy's that used to call me once a month. Can we get more mistos? We sold Federated like 270,000 mistos in 1 year. I mean, we were the hottest item. The George Foreman grill was hot. We were hotter back then for a couple of years, you know. And we were like the cat's meow. So anyway, it was a great time. Tom was a stitch. We worked around the clock. I still had my stores. We traveled everywhere. We just put all into this, and we made all these mistos in Connecticut, in a warehouse in Bethel, Connecticut. Tom built all the tooling. We had people that assembled them, and we got up to building about 7,000 a day, and we couldn't keep up with demand. And it was an unbelievable experience. Tom made millions and millions of dollars and retired again. Yeah, but never blew his money again.
I'm resonating with the story. I'm resonating with the story a number of ways, because I've been there, done. So 27 and 45, he got a second win.
Yeah, he got a second win, and he then he wouldn't even buy lunch anymore. He was always worried, if I buy lunch, I'll lose all my money. I mean, really, he's so funny, but he has done some cool things since then. But he just it was just a great experience, and I made more money, on the back end. I had a deal with him, where I got a percentage, but it was all, Adrian, based on success. It was so wonderful because I got paid as the company had success. So, and I already had, a job and other things going on. So it was unbelievable. So anyway, not to drag this on all night, but I decided this is the life for me. and working in stores is just for babies. And I'm going to sell the stores, which I did over 2 years, and got out of them. And I started, I took a year and started deciding what I was going to do. And that's really where the story starts. And I'll make it quick, but I started looking around me, and I am not an inventor myself. I have great eyes for product. I know all about product development. I know about sourcing. I know about retail. I know about marketing, getting it out there. I am not an inventor. So I learned that for sure by inventing the next project that I worked on, which was called Stir Chef, which is an automatic saucepan stirring device, which I and an engineer put together, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was folded up to about the size of a coffee cup, but it had spring-loaded arms and a drop-down paddle that would go. And the basic purpose was anything that required stirring or intermittent stirring, like soups, beans, pastas, anything like that. You could put this on the stove, and you wouldn't have to stir. You could do other things. And we took it to the 2005 Houseware Show, and it was the #1 item at the show. We sold 110,000 pieces the first day of the show. We sold to QVC, HSN. I was in the bathroom half the time hyperventilating because I was going to be really rich. I mean, I was going to be so rich that I wouldn't know what to do and where to park my money. And these were things, my thoughts that were coming into my head. And the whole thing was brilliant. And then the great thing was it was a $12 cost, right? Because we sourced them from China for like $4, and it was $12 cost with big margins. And we had in a gold box, we called it Stir Chef, and we were selling it to the high-end stores, Williams-Sonoma, Bed Bath, and all that. And they made like 60 points margin, and everybody's happy. Then we took the same product and we put it in a red box. We called it Easy Stir, and we sold that to Walmart and Target at $12, and they worked on 40 points. And everybody was happy, right? So we all got it out there. And guess what? The thing didn't sell. It was a complete bomb. We ended up, we sold some to senior citizens. We sold some to disabled folks. But basically, we didn't have a marketplace. And everywhere we shipped them, they didn't sell them. And we shipped like 9,000 to Bed Bath. And when they didn't sell them, they wanted to take it all back. And then we said, no way, we're not taking them back. And they said, well, we're not going to pay you. And we ended up in court and all this stuff. And just everywhere we went, it was a bloody mess. And I kept going on QVC. I went on QVC a dozen times to demo it. And one time I was at the hotel like late at night. You know, it was getting depressing. You know, I was down there at like 1 a.m. and I'm talking to the woman who's like checking me into the hotel, and she said, "You look tired and sad." I said, "Well, my product's not selling very well." She said, "What do you have?" And I said, "Well, it's a saucepan stirrer, you know, and it stirs." And I brought it out of the box. I'll demo it for anybody, right? And she said something very revealing, which I should have known before. She said, I would never buy that. And I said, well, why not? Why not? She goes, well, because it doesn't allow you to put the love into cooking, into your cooking. And I said, yeah, I was such a wise ass. I said, yeah, but if you had something like this, you could be upstairs making love instead of cooking. She didn't think that was very funny. Anyway, I realized then and there that we just didn't do enough market research, and we did not really address the needs of our consumers. We were selling to buyers. Buyers all loved it, but buyers don't know anything. They don't know anything. And so that was my valuable lesson, Adrian. I spent 9 months getting rid of that merchandise. We ramped up our orders after all the sales because we needed to have goods in the pipeline. And I had 250,000 units, and we were bringing in all these containers. And so I had to get rid of 140,000 excess goods, 1,000 units. And by the way, let me just tell you, folks, when you're trying to get rid of that type of quantity of merchandise that's not selling, take the first offer. The first guy offered us $4 for them, and my partner goes, "Oh no, it cost us $4.50 to make them." I said, "Who cares?" You know. And so we passed on that. We ended up selling them for like an average of $2 a piece. We lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars, more than that actually, and it was very, very frustrating. So I lost a lot of my the money I had earned on Misto. I put my family at risk, so everybody's been through that, and I learned firsthand, what it's like to really, struggle. And suddenly I wasn't the superstar anymore and everybody's friend from Misto. I had this product that I had to, and all along a guy kept calling me, an inventor kept calling me with a product that ended up being called Smart Spin. And I kept telling him, I have to get out of this product. I have to get rid of it. I have obligations to my partners and the warehouse and all this other stuff. And I really learned, I went in 7 days a week and I cleared these goods out. And it was probably one of the most valuable lessons of my life that I talk in the book about. I give a whole chapter to failure and what you have to do. And finally, I called the guy back and I said, "So what do you have?" And Smart Spin ended up being a top seller on TV. It was 24 storage containers of different sizes with universal lids. They went on a Lazy Susan that pulled off the shelf so you could stack them vertically. And in 05, 06, 07, we sold 12 million Smart Spins. And so I was really fortunate to do really well with that product. Of course, at this point, I was really smart. I knew how to make better deals and everything. And it not only pulled me out of my misery, but it put me right back on the road to success again. And so let's just say up until that point, I had a lot of experience, hands-on experience, not fake experience, hands-on experience with real bullets, okay, in your own business, with your own money, with being right up front, close and personal, and none of this, giving advice and everything. So when I speak to people about their products or about their missions, it's very soulful for me. I understand. One time I was being interviewed by someone, I was telling the story, and I started crying. And he goes, why so emotional? I said, "You don't understand. This is a really emotional thing." And I take that to every single inventor I talk to has a heart and a soul and something at risk here. And it's not a mass production, mass factory opportunity. So this really influenced me big time. And so along the way, I started to say, there's got to be a better way to do this because not everything is successful all the time. And I started to think about a different business model. And I joined my local inventor club in Connecticut, which was similar to your club. And I started hearing all the stories from inventors that are being, taken advantage of and ripped off and just, paying money and not getting anything back for it. And I started to say that I don't want to be that person, taking money from inventors. So I know the money has to come from somewhere. So either you work on the back end from success, but then I realized, boy, that was a real rocky roller coaster, up and down, up and down. I don't know if my heart can take any more of this up and down, stuff every day. So that's when I came up with the vision for an open innovation program. And I realized that I was really good friends with the people at Lifetime Brands. Lifetime Brands is the largest non-electric housewares company in the United States with 40,000 products and 50 brands and 2,000 employees. And they own the brand name Farberware, for instance, and they're the biggest supplier of kitchen gadgets in the world, the biggest cutlery company in the world. And like if you go to Walmart and see their Farberware, that's all Lifetime's. They have 70% of Walmart's cutlery business, and it's on and on and on. And Jeffrey Siegel had been a buyer at Abraham and Strauss. He was a senior buyer when I was a kid, and he had hired other A&S people, and so he knew me and my reputation. So we used to talk when I went to trade shows, and he said, "Listen, I see what you're doing for inventors and helping inventors, and why don't you do that for us? We would love to find new products, from inventors." And so that became the basis of our open innovation program. And I said, I'd be happy to do that as long as I don't have to work for you. I will be an outside contractor. And we set up the program, and in the book I describe in detail what we did. And we set up a lot of ethical boundaries to protect both myself and the company. And the boundaries were, we always treat inventors properly. We pay the highest possible royalties. We're transparent. We don't look at submissions to take ideas and design around it. And this program became embellished in the company from the top down. And the great thing is Jeff's father had actually invented the knife block, right? And that's how Lifetime Brands started. He invented the knife block, right? And he used to sell knife blocks out of the trunk of his car, in the 50s. And then Lifetime today, which is $1 billion company, started with those roots. So they care a lot about inventors and innovation and all that. And so that was the program. I started there. I'm in my 15th year now with Lifetime. I've done over 100 licensing deals with them. I've had a lot of hit products like Food Huggers. And I brought Misto to them eventually, which is a huge hit, but did the Bagel Biter, the Bagel Guillotine, the Food Huggers, which are silicone preservers for vegetables. The odor absorbing splatter screen, which is a splatter screen that takes the odors out. We sold millions of those. I mean, I've had a bunch, 10 or 12 really big hits, and done over 100 licensing deals. And at the same time, I was getting more involved in my inventor community. So Adrian, basically, I was learning these really valuable lessons in person up front about really what makes things tick and what the odds are for success. And I started to change my thinking about everything. And meanwhile, I kept analyzing, all the people that were in the business basically taking money from inventors, taking money up front from inventors. And where's the success for inventors? Where's the real success, the monetary success? And so eventually I got more involved with the UIA, ended up becoming the president of the UIA and giving 12 years very charitably and a lot of my money to the organization to fund it. But I also used my open innovation credentials to go out with a company called TTI, which is a power tool company with also hardware. They own Ryobi, Rigid, and Milwaukee Power Tools and Hart Tools and many other brands. So I ran their program for 7 years, and they're the biggest supplier to Home Depot. And then I do it for merchant media. We've had a lot of hit products in the TV world. Right now we have one called True Touch, where gloves that you can put on and groom your dogs and pets, and basically with the gloves on, and we've sold about 8 million of those so far. So I'm around success. I know what success looks like. I also know how difficult it is to succeed. So I'm very passionate about trying to help people without taking their money, because it's bad enough. It's bad enough to not be successful. It's another thing to blow a lot of money, and then you have a three-dimensional debt situation where it's very, very difficult. So I took these lessons. Along the way, I met people like Adrian and Josh Malone and Paul Morinville, and people that were dedicated to Washington, D.C. top issues and Capitol Hill and the Patent Office. And so I write about that also a lot in the book, which is the inventor is really up against it these days. They need more help and support. The big tech companies are trying to basically water down the value of patents because it makes it easier for infringement. I don't care what they say. All the other stuff that they put out there is just a front. And so I learned a lot about that. Spent a lot of time with Adrian on Capitol Hill. Many trips down there. A lot of time at the patent office. Another director of the patent office, former directors. Dave Kaplis is the endorser of the book. And really, and learn that, by the way, at the UIA, we're only a 501c3 nonprofit, so we couldn't lobby. So U.S. Inventor became sort of the lobbying arm, and we were able to, help from behind the scenes on that front. And so it's all part of a, brotherhood here. And so we appreciate all the efforts that independent inventors and club leaders around the country put into this. And then I talk a lot about, where we need to go with innovation if we're going to continue to be the most innovative country on the planet. And it's not from calling patents franchises that the government can take away, which they can. And it's not from big companies just forcing their will on us because they have more lobbyists. And it's not from all these things. It's from grassroots innovation sparking up. And I talk a lot about grassroots innovation and the power of inventors and individual inventors. The problem is the inventor community is not well funded or organized. So it's very, very difficult to get your message across. It's something we continually try to battle, but it's a battle worth fighting. And we want to make the inventor community more inclusive, but we also want to make it, heard and listened to, and I want people to understand what the real issues are, because on the political front, big companies cloud the issues, and in order to get you confused and make the young people think that, they're doing the Lord's work, which all they care about is themselves. But it also happens with inventor submission companies, marketing companies, and coaches, inventor coaches, that charge a lot of money up front. And what you see in their marketing and advertising has no bearing on the bullshit that goes on behind the scenes. Now, I like to think that I'm pretty transparent because, frankly, I don't have employees. I do everything myself. I work with partnerships with people like Adrian and others. I used to have 65 employees. I don't want employees anymore. So I am who I say I am, and the UIA is who we say we are. And, we probably don't have as good a marketing message because we're not as good at it. So we probably miss the boat a lot of time in connecting with people. But we're pretty pure in terms of our thoughts and what we want to do. And that's more important to me at the end of the day. I really don't care how many books I sell. I don't. I just would rather have 100 people read the book that care about it, that influence it, than selling 100,000. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. But you got to understand that these marketing companies, these coaches, these submission coaches, all live for cash flow. Okay. And that's the most, I don't give a shit what they say. Okay. It's just like Google. I don't give a shit what they say. What they really are all about is cash flow. And that's your cash flow and taking your money. And what you would be shocked at is the lack of success. And now some of the companies tell you their success stories, and they're dismal. But, others think that they've gotten around the system. And my book calls that out and says, hey, you guys, let's start sharing your information. If you have, I talked to a coach the other day that worked for one of the big coaching companies, and he no longer works there, that coached several hundred people, okay, and had one licensing deal, and they didn't make any money. There's no money, it was a failure. So they didn't make any, and I've heard that from the 3 or 4 of the company's coaches, either current or ex-coaches. So this is what we're talking about here, that on the surface, it's like we add value. We do all these things, and we show you how to get to market. And they say, and stuff, and it's all wrapped in education and all this umbrella of shit. But at the end of the day, if you guys are going to use them, you got to ask, what are your success stories? And then we hear people who, the people I'm talking about in the industry, they're in the DRTV industry, they're in the inventor help industry, and they're running around all the time, telling you, that you should pay them up front for their services. What have they accomplished? Now, some of them have had like one hit, and that's great. That's something. But have they had sustained success? That's what you have to ask. And then some of them, they talk about products that they are successful with, which were marketplace failures, complete and utter marketplace failures that lost millions of dollars, and they brag about this as success. This is where it gets me as a purist kind of bonkers, you know. So I try to lay out in the book both sides of the issues so that you guys as inventors can be more knowledgeable, so that you understand what questions to ask, what criteria before you spend your hard-earned money with someone, and what's going on in DC, so you can see the whole landscape and chart out the best path for you. So as Adrian knows, I get really emotional about all this stuff because I care about it. I'm not sure if we're ever going to solve the issue of inventors being taken advantage of, but that's what Inventor Confidential is all about. It's about you not being taken advantage of and empowering you. So you can pre-order it on Amazon. If you order it now, it'll be shipped March 23rd. You have my email, www.tuttle@yahoo.com. I do have a website called Inventor Confidential. I have 18 endorsements on the book. Chan Kim from Blue Ocean Strategy, the #1 business consultant in the world, Dave Capos. I have the president of Home Depot has endorsed the book. You know, there's a lot of big time people that I've come in contact with, and so it's really awesome. We feature cool people in the book like Adrian, and we have people that I call industry rock stars, or people who are just educators or cool books that I've read. So you will get the straight scoop on this book. This book's not trying to sell anything. It's not a marketing book. It specifically will tell you from the corporate side, you know, what they're looking for and being honest with you of what the real odds are. And unfortunately, it doesn't talk about gold mines and getting rich. And so, you know, I don't know how popular it'd be because those books tend to be more popular than mine, which is more of an awareness book. But I don't care. And the cool thing is HarperCollins is my publisher. We pitched the book to 30 companies, I got 5 offers, and HarperCollins is the second biggest book company in the world, and they're supporting it. And my daughter, I have 3 daughters. By the way, my middle daughter just got into the #1 children's psychology PhD program in America, so I'm proud of them. Heck at her. And all my daughters are working, successful, and my youngest daughter's in digital marketing and advertising and does all my social media. So we're going to do our best to get the word out the best we can, and then we'll leave it there and let you guys decide. So, Adrian, that's probably more time than I had, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Warren. Perfect. And we appreciate the honesty and your ability to share these experiences so we can benefit from that, and look forward to reading that book. And I know some of us have some questions. Who wants to start first?
I can start.
Earlier today?
Yeah. So, Warren, thanks for the intro and for being a pioneer in the community.
Thank you.
And I am a co-founder of a startup in San Diego, where Adrian is an advisor for us.
Yes.
We are called Productified, and we help inventors and entrepreneurs bring their products to the market. We are working on changing the landscape in that area and do just many of the things that you're saying and all of them later on. So very excited to hear about people like you. And
welcome to the club. By the way, we're the minority. So make sure you keep friends close to you, okay?
Yeah. So, my co-founder, Alex, has got several patents on his name in the past, and he's the CEO of the company. And we would love to learn more about the process of licensing and how to do that and what's the best way to go about it. I'm sure your book will talk about it, and we'll get a copy of that. So I wrote down your email.
Yes.
And I want to see if you want to answer some of the questions here, and maybe we can also email you later on.
Yeah, sure. Email me later on. You know, licensing is the art or science or business of having a larger entity, you know, take your product to market and pay you a royalty for it. Most licensing deals are based upon the physical attribute of, usually it's your patent or your intellectual property. It could be your trademark. So it ties it into something, and the company then goes out and basically becomes kind of your angel investor and your manufacturer and everything else. When it works properly, it can be wonderful, but licensing is usually typically beneficial when you sell a lot of products. If you sell hundreds of thousands or millions. When you sell 5,000, I see sometimes these licensing deals are signed, and I haven't even heard of the companies before, and I cringe, and I say, if you sell 5,000 units and you make a quarter a unit, it's like $1,000. It's what's the point, But you're trying to, when you license, get someone else to take the risk for you, and then the way to make money is to sell a lot of them. So now I do talk a lot about in the book that I see some people say, well, you can license an idea or take your idea around. Let me just tell you about ideas. They're a dime a dozen. A lot of people have them. And without being grounded in IP, now, if you take them to market yourself and you make something out of it and you build it and build the brand, that's one thing. But if you're going to license it, a lot of companies either will not be interested because they're going to pay you a royalty and the competitor come in and compete and steal the market at a lower cost than you, or they're going to do a lower royalty rate. So I oftentimes, when people come to me with ideas, try to counsel them on how to improve their odds, and we talk about that a lot in the book. So we can certainly back channel more about that. I'd love to see you get off to a great start on that front. So,
thank you. Do you also recommend? I don't know much about patents myself, but in these cases, to protect your idea before you license it with a patent or a provisional patent, of course.
Yeah. And so listen, there's a lot of angles on patents, and I do know that there's big companies that want to diminish the value of patents, but the pure concept of a patent is to allow an individual to protect their rights. So if they develop something, it's an agreement with the U.S. government that you have 20 years to basically monetize your invention before it gets turned over to the public. That's the deal. That's the way it always was. Now, today it's getting scrambled a bit, but that is the concept. And I've signed many, many, many licensing deals based on patents. And there are still good companies that care about patents. And by the way, when you license to a company like Lifetime Brands, they will also go out and between their clout and the brand and the patent, they will help defend it. And especially on Amazon and other places, which is really a very, very much of a minefield these days. So there are advantages. I'm not saying just fly out and spend all your money on patents. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a provisional patent application process that you can pursue. Watch your money very carefully, and it should go hand in hand with your development, because how you develop the product will determine what the claims are of your patents. But you need to do them in sync. And you can't get out like I did with Stir Chef ahead of yourself. And, you got to stay in the moment, with it. So we talk about that a lot in the book. But product development is serious. You take someone like Adrian Pelkis. He's a serious product developer. Tom Risch, Josh Malone. You hear Josh Malone's story of the bunch of balloons and the amount of time he put into it. That's different than like having an idea like I'm going to combine a spatula and a fork, and I'm going to call it a forkula. I don't even know where to start with something like that. You know what I mean? And I even read about in the book that you could combine two things and send it in. And I'm like, hey, yeah, So anyway, I talk a lot about this in the book, and I'm just really pure on it, and I'm pure in doing it the right way. Because at the end of the day, that will benefit you either on this project or the next one if you do it the right way. You have to understand that all these people sending ideas, you see every so often, someone, I got a licensing deal with, blah, 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 blah. You never hear any follow-up or anything. They didn't make any money on it. There was no financial or marketing success. You compare that to a Tom Risch or a Josh Malone or something like that. That's the difference,
All right, thank you. Thank you, Warren. And we've got a couple of cameras to choose from here. Excuse me as I went around the room. I got a few other issues to talk about. Thank you, Warren. Excuse me. Is this a short question? Is it a quick one?
It's a short one.
What is it, Mike?
Warren, when asking people for money, investors, I know there's many criteria that go into that, but I'm a Catholic, dysfunctional Irish Buffalonian, and I'm not real good at asking people for money. But when you have put together the cash flow and the rationale for a return on investment. Can you just share a few thoughts about when you're going to make a deal with somebody, what to think about when you're asking people for money? Just
can we actually table that and circle back around and ask them on the side, because that's a very lengthy, in-depth question that's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, and hey, Adrian, I'll just give you 30 seconds, and then I'll be. You're deciding when you go that path. You're talking about going to market directly yourself, okay? As opposed to licensing. I would say 95% of inventors go the licensing route because it's less complex. So you're going to be, if you're raising money, that's a whole different story. And I do in the book have a chapter called The 30 Steps to Going to Market Directly. And you might find that chapter particularly interesting. I'll just leave it there.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Cool. I know there's so many more questions because the field is so broad. And again, Warren, we do appreciate you bringing your wisdom, experience, and knowledge, and having put it all in this great book. We're looking forward to getting that. And we will be sharing your contact information. This is all being recorded, so we'll be following up and posting that.
Being recorded? Are you kidding me? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Sorry, it'll be on YouTube soon enough. We'll share all those things. Cool. And well, thank you again very much. So let me go back to our presentation here so we can continue with the rest of this, and we can wrap it up shortly, we hope. And so what's coming up next? Opportunities, resources, and the who needs who. In quick, we've talked about these things before. If you need 3D surfaces, actually, Chris is a great resource himself with Pace. Fiverr, we talked about all sorts of ways they help bring you.
Hey, Adrian, can I interrupt last time, and I'll button it up after that? Chris Guerrera is awesome, you guys, and he's right down in your area, and he's got a very, very. The reason I love Chris, well, for other reasons too, but professionally, he's got an amazing background, and if you ask him the background and where he comes from, he's not one of these people that just showed up, in the industry, and so I just love to give him a big plug there. So.
Thanks, Warren. Appreciate you.
Yes, Warren, and quite appropriate and well-deserved, Chris. And again, we appreciate very much your presentation. We're going to welcome you back. I know your viewpoints and your experience is very knowledgeable, and we do appreciate you sharing that. Back on other places, though, online and the platforms that are available, Fiverr for finding freelancers. Right now, there are so many ways to find funding. I don't know why anybody's questioning it. You have Start Engine, you've got GoFundMe, Founder Suite, NewChip. These are all brand new platforms that have got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of angel investors now that are pooling together. And there's VCs as well. So depending on whatever round you're looking for, startup, pre-seed, or seed, there are platforms to help you launch and build your company. Here in South Carolina, we love you to look at Innovate Columbia as a one-stop shop to find these resources and others. And here through the South Carolina Inventors Forum, we're happy to share with you things that we have, such as the product development plan, test matrices, and project planning schedules that you can download and build your project plans with. I'm also happy to share with you one of the more recent things. I will personally be happy to meet with you for lunch, and we can talk about it personally. If you're in town in the neighborhood of Lexington, South Carolina, I'd love to see you there on a Thursday. So come and talk, and really hopefully sharing you out and giving you some advice. Tom, are there any new things here at Midlands you wanted to share with us?
No, I think nothing's changed this last month. We're going strong, and there is a Warren will be happy to hear this. There is a surging interest in intentional self-employment being driven by folks that are calling me with ideas. So people are coming out of their holes now from the COVID, and they're saying, what about this? What about this better way to do something? So they're starting to come back to life now.
That's great, and your role is to make sure that they take those ideas and turn them into something that's actually useful for them.
Yeah, if that can happen, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Well, thanks, Tom. Dr. Jones is actually teaching tonight. He'll be taking our video recordings from tonight and editing them up and putting on YouTube. We thank him for that. I'll be meeting with Daniel next weekend. He's been helping us coordinate and meet with others in town that are helping us expand knowledge of our group here. And Carrie helps with the ladies in town that are looking to create a co-working space and work together to help each other's projects and visions. Charles has been helping us with our legal needs, and our dear friend Tim Bradford is a wonderful man and counselor that we look forward to advice and cheering us on. Again, wanted to thank that we've had great supporters now, and we encourage you, though, if you'd like to help sponsor us, we do have sponsorships open. Funds that you donate to our group are all collected. They are going towards a contest. It's now in 5 months. The South Carolina Inventors Forum contest, and the money's collected will be going to the prize pool. It's $1,000 for first prize, $500 for second, $250 for third. And it's a great chance for you to showcase your product ideas and inventions as long as they've been at least issued a provisional patent. We invite you to come out. We'll tell you more about how that's all going to go. And it's a fun exercise and gets the community involved and awareness to new ideas. Look forward to sharing that. Any other concluding comments? Tom, thank you again so much for helping us here with all this technology and teaching me how to work it and sharing the space and staying these late hours. I know how laborious this is.
Not a problem.
Folks, again, thank you so much. Any other comments for tonight?
Adrian, if I could just take a moment, I certainly appreciate being a first-timer here and listening to everybody. I've learned a lot, and I'll come back. But I would challenge each one of you to that's in attendance to invite 2 more people that you know of to come to this thing, and that will increase, I think, Adrian, for your membership here. I think it has great value, and certainly I can find 2 more people to come.
Well, thank you. If everybody would chip in on that same degree, we'd be rapidly expanding, and we hope every month we will be bringing in great content, great speakers with great knowledge and experience to share, and that is a value added for the whole community. And the number of videos we're going to be building will become another great asset for people to have as a resource to find you all and reap your wisdom. And that building that library is an important aspect of our whole group and our club. So thank you again for contributing, and thank you again for sharing. And
hey, Adrian, you can tap into the UIA library now. We have a pretty extensive video collection now under UIA, USA.org, and you guys as a club can either link or tap into it. People might find some of those pretty cool.
Thanks. I'm trying to channel as much as I can that's coming either across my desk or the website, filtering out the ones that are spamming the heck out of us. But a lot of these, you guys are doing some really great, legit things that I will be promoting and sharing. Tom, yes. Yeah,
Warren, just for you, I want to invite you to come back in April after I've had a chance to read your book. I pre-ordered your book.
Yeah.
Right. So if it comes in on the 23rd, you come back the second week of April, we'll give you a critique.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, lady who's left, I appreciate your help. And gentlemen, I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you again next month. And in the meantime, anytime you want to reach out and connect us, we'd love to help you and advise you as best as we can. Until then, stay well, stay healthy, and have an inventive day.
Thank you.